President Obama once said, "Every single American, gay, straight, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, every single American deserves to be treated equally in the eyes of the law and in the eyes of our society." In 2015, the Supreme Court took its first step towards this effort when they legalized same-sex marriage. Although this was a huge accomplishment for the LGBT community, they still face many challenges. Since I've written a few research papers and have done more than enough extensive research on the topic of discrimination against gay marriage, I know I can encourage you to help the LGBT+ community. As you can see, I've conducted a survey asking people of different religious backgrounds and political views their opinions on gay marriage. One of the questions I posed stated, "I should be allowed to marry whomever I want to." As you can see, 2 people mildly agreed and 8 people strongly agreed. I find these results tell a very conflicting and compelling story. Everyone I surveyed agreed that they should be allowed to marry who they want to, but not everyone agreed that the LGBT community should be allowed to marry who they want to. Based on the results I got from this survey, I've concluded that gay marriage should not only be legalized, but normalized in our society, and no one should be discriminated against for wanting to be treated as an equal. First, I'd like to explain how and why the LGBT community is discriminated against. Gay marriage was legalized on June 26, 2015, but people of the LGBT community still deal with injustices in the workforce, when it comes to adopting children, and in everyday life. When the Supreme Court issued their decision that invalidated bans on marriage for same-sex couples across the U.S., there was no federal law made that expressly prohibits discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity in fields such as employment, housing, and access to services. In the article, "All We Want is Equality," written by the Human Rights Watch, it states that, as marriage equality becomes a reality, first in individual states and then nationally, lawmakers propose allowing those with religious or moral objections to refuse or decline to provide a range of goods and services to same-sex couples. In fact, since the legalization of gay marriage, there are at least 8 states that have enacted new laws that permit people to infringe upon the rights of LGBT individuals and their families to the extent that they believe that discriminating against them is necessary to uphold their own religious and moral beliefs. In recent years, 6 more states have considered doing this as well. As the Supreme Court has granted the LGBT+ equal rights, it seems as though the states have been slowly but surely stripping them away. Since people of this community lack protections by law, sometimes they have a harder time getting a job or get denied a promotion just because of their sexual preference. As you can see, the survey conducted by the Center for American Progress in January 2017 found that 1 in 4 LGBT+ respondents had experienced discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity in 2016. According to the article, "The LGBT Population and the Fight for Adoption Rights" by Christian Roberts, there is discrimination among homosexual adoption. Roberts states that in Alabama, same-sex couples must wait a year after marriage to be able to adopt a child. This is a longer wait than a straight couple has. This just proves that people in gay marriages are not given the same opportunities as heterosexuals. People of the LGBT community are still being treated unequal, even though gay marriage was legalized almost 5 years ago. In the U.S. Declaration of Independence, it states that all men are created equal. Those are words to live by. Then everybody should be granted equal rights, which include the right to marry. The U.S. is also considered the land of the free, but the LGBT community is discriminated against for wanting to be free to marry who they please. Our country needs to come together to fight against these social injustices. and there are many ways we could go about doing so. The first step was legalizing gay marriage, and the LGBT community fought long and hard for that right. However, their fight, along with everybody else's, is far from over. To ensure this kind of discrimination is no longer tolerated, we should not let slurs slide. We should create safe spaces, and we should continue to advocate for legal changes. People are known to use the word gay as an insult, and it is not one, so it shouldn't be used as one. If you hear someone use it as such, you should not let it slide. The Virgin Group, which was created by Richard Branson, a global growth investor, stated that in just 7 years, the Special Olympics Spread the Word to End the Word campaign has garnered more than 500,000 pledges from people to stop saying retarded as an insult to people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Their persistence has led to a cultural change. Some TV networks now bleep the word just like any other cuss word. If the LGBT community has the courage to live among people that are bigots, then I believe everyone else has more than enough courage to stand up for them. This community lives in constant danger. They get into violent situations just for being who they are, and sometimes they have to hide who they are so they don't get hurt. We need more spaces where the LGBT community can feel safe and go unharmed. We need to be more vocal in our support and show that there are places where the LGBT community are welcome. The win in 2015 for gay marriage was not enough to stop discrimination. We still need to continue to advocate for legal changes. According to the Virginian group, North Carolina passed a controversial law that both criminalizes and explicitly excludes sexual orientation from the state's non-discrimination law. This shows that the LGBT community's fight is far from over. Ending discrimination against this community is not going to come easily or quickly. It is going to take your time, support, and dedication. Next, I would like you to visualize some things. Picture a country where everyone can live as freely as they want. Picture a country where no one is discriminated against. A country where same-sex couples can adopt children without enduring a bigger struggle than heterosexuals. A country where everyone is free to love who they please. A country where people can support one another even if they share different views. A country where you could see 2 dads taking their kid to daycare and it would be considered normal. According to the Registry of California Adoption Facilitators, without LGBT parents, thousands of children would not have a permanent and safe home with loving parents. In a world with more LGBT plus parents, there would be less kids without a home and a family. If we had true equality in the U.S., everyone's rights would be protected under federal laws, and we would be able to live freely. Finally, I reach my conclusion. I hope that I have given you enough insight on what it's like to be a part of the LGBT plus community in this generation, because it is surely not easy. For those of you who did or would have voted that you should be allowed to marry who you want, would you now also agree that people of the LGBT plus community should be allowed to marry who they want? Back in 2015, when the Supreme Court ruled to invalidate bans on gay marriage, they granted LGBT community their first step towards equality. All the LGBT community wants is to be treated equally and as fairly as anyone else. However, they must continuously fight for their rights every day, including their right to marry. How do we solve LGBTQ plus discrimination? One word, visibility, is an article written by Chief Executive Officer Simon Freakley. He states that there remains much work to do because in 73 countries, homosexuality is still considered a crime and in some places punishable by death. I encourage everyone listening to create or sign petitions that are against discriminating the LGBT community. Easily you can join movements such as the All Out movement. This movement was made for love and equality. You can find the All Out movement at the website allout.org. Once you log onto their website, there are many ways you can contribute to your cause. As you can see, you can click here where it says take action, and it will bring up many options. If you were to click the current campaigns, you would see that they have 4 ongoing campaigns that you could sign. If you are hoping to sign a petition for a specific cause, there will be descriptions below to explain what each one is advocating for. If you want to gain support for your own cause, you could also start your own petition. If you would like to make a quick donation, there's also a button for that as well. And as you can see, you can make any size donation you'd like. Become an equality champion. These people sign up from all around the world and make monthly donations that power All Out campaigns. But if you truly want to get involved and make a bigger difference, I encourage you to fundraise or become an All Out ambassador. To help fundraise, the All Out movement motivates you to ask for solidarity. Instead of receiving gifts on your birthday or engagement, ask your friends to donate. All you must do is enter your name, where you are from, a little bit about yourself, and what you are pledging. When you become an All Out ambassador, you will be given the tools and resources to shape and steer online campaigns for LGBT+ rights. Like former President Obama once stated, every single American, gay, straight, lesbian, bisexual, every single American deserves to be treated equally in the eyes of the law and in the eyes of our society. After listening to my research, I hope you can come to the same conclusion as such a powerful leader once did and advocate for the rights of the LGBT community. Thank you.